Hello, everyone. I am Chronic Mayhem, and today we will be looking at the Flydigi Vader 3 Pro and the Gulikit KK3 Max controllers, and we'll have special guest, the Elite Series 2, to compare them to. Let's get into it. All right. So these two controllers are currently the exact same price on Amazon at $79.99. I think there's also a $5 coupon right now on the Vader 3 Pro. I'll put the links in the description. The Sometimes the Vader 3 Pro can be listed up to $90 on Amazon. You can, if you want, if you're a risk taker, you can go on AliExpress and pick it up for anywhere between $45 and $60. I think I've only seen it on 45 on there once, but I much prefer the ease of returns and customer service that comes with Amazon. So I have no problem paying $79.99 for this controller, especially with the features it comes with. The KK3 Max has had a lot of hype leading up to its release, and for the most part, it does live up to it. But some of the features it was advertised were a little misleading, and we can get into that in a bit. Excuse me. The For features that these come with, the KK3 Max definitely wins out there. So when you originally get it, it actually has the button placement for a Switch controller because this is pretty much a Switch controller, even though it can be used on multiple different platforms such as PC, Android, and its wireless dongle. I switched these out for Xbox because I have a Switch, but I really never use a controller with it. So I switched out the buttons to the Xbox layout, and it's really easy to switch them out. If you switch your keycaps on your keyboard at all, it's very similar. You have like almost like a keycap puller type thing, like pliers. You pull them out, you pop the new ones in, and you're good to go. And obviously that's how you start up the controller, by hitting the buttons right here. The anti-friction rings are very nice. They glide pretty well. You have this nice blue color. This is not RGB. You cannot change this. It stays as blue. You can change the brightness, though, however, but I think it's fine. As I mentioned earlier, this is good for, let me bring it up here, Nintendo Switch, Windows, Android, and the wireless dongle. So essentially, when you're in the Windows mode, is when you want to play wired. Jeez, and when you want to play wireless, you can use the wireless dongle. It has some nice texture on the triggers here as well. None up here, which is a little disappointing, but it is what it is. You have two-way stops here. Well, I'll describe that. You have analog, so you have the full pull right here, and then you can flip the switch over, and then it will switch to a digital kind of click here. I don't think you can hear the clicking. I'll bring it closer to my mic. I think my noise gate is making it hard to pick up. But the pull, this is one of the features that people were kind of disappointed in when this controller first came out, is when you have the digital triggers turned on, the pull is still, oops, hold on. The pull is still pretty long here. And that's my work phone going off over there. You probably just heard, but anyway, the pull is still pretty long, and the click is right there. So the click, so I mean, you could kind of do that, but when people want a mouse click on a controller, they're usually expecting, a millimeter or two of movement. It's honestly not that much shorter than the full stop on the Elite Series 2. See, this obviously does not have the mouse click. It's just plastic stops in there. I would almost argue it's almost I think it's more actually. It's it's pretty close, but not what most people expected when they were buying this for the triggers. Another aspect that's very similar to the Elite Series 2 is the back paddle design. Here I have the half domes on the top and the smallest paddles on the bottom, which I feel is the most comfortable. Uh, the bottom paddles, and I'll go get them in a second, um, stretch all the way down here. And the way I hold my controllers, I don't usually use my ring finger to play. I use only my middle fingers in the back here. So when I'm holding it, my middle finger is kind of resting right here, and then it kind of just hops up to the back paddle whenever I want to use it. Let's see if I can kind of rotate. This is how I use it a lot of the time, which is the same way I use my Elite Series 2. Um, I rest on the bottom and I just do this. That being said, the Elite Series 2 is still far more comfortable to hold. The main problem is everyone expected this because of the way it looks to be the exact same kind of feel as the Elite Series 2. However, the bottom paddles, when they are down here on this bottom area, to me are pretty much unusable. One, because they're so long. And again, these are the short paddles. So hold on a second. Let's take a pause and I'll go get the other ones. All right, we're back. So this is the case, the paddles and the half domes and your extra buttons to switch it from a Switch layout to a PC or X layout, Xbox layout. This is which is really nice. It's really cool that they included this plastic case, and you get like a switch puller or a button puller to pull these out. It's very simple. So I have these set up with the big paddles on the bottom and the small paddles on top, which is kind of how a lot of people expected uh, it to be laid out. That it would feel the exact same as the Elite Series 2. And as I'm talking here, I'll just switch these around as to show you how easy it is. It's not quite the same as on the Elite Series 2. You got to kind of take it here, pop it in, and push them down. While on here, you just kind of lift up and they just sort of, they just come out. You do that, and then they're in. Both are still very easy. So you can see how similar they look. So a lot of people assumed it would be comfort-wise the same feeling as the Elite Series 2. Unfortunately, though, these back buttons, they stick way out from the controller compared to the Elite Series 2. And kind of the first time I'm looking at it, it's almost like they're different on either side. But when you compare that to the Elite Series 2, they are much closer. Um, and it's very uncomfortable having them here, especially if you're like, it's just not great to use, especially and if you're like me, I only use my middle finger to cover all four paddles. Like so, when I'm using my Elite Series 2, my middle finger rests on the bigger bottom paddle and then just kind of jumps up whenever I want to reload or switch weapons or whatever. So this is extremely uncomfortable to me, which was very disappointing. The system I found that works best for when I use this, and I think I just lost one of the paddles, but is to oh nope, it's right there. You just didn't take it off, dummy. The is to put these half domes on top. And if you're familiar with the PlayStation Edge controller, these are kind of the same idea. I think they're bigger. They're a lot bigger than on that controller, but it's again, it's the same idea. So make sure I got it right. Da, 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 da. Yep. So I put the half domes on here like so, providing I'm not dropping them. Yada yada yada. And then there you go. So now my fingers rest on these bottom ones and my middle finger just kind of jumps up here and grabs the edge whenever I want to use that one. That is far more comfortable to me. This controller in the hand feels very similar to the Elite Series 2 because it is essentially the same shape. It doesn't have any rubber on the sides. It's got a texture on the bottom here for grip. My complaint, though, with this coating is this thing is a goddamn fingerprint magnet. I mean, it's you use it once and it looks disgusting. It's this coating is just not it's not it. You'll be constantly wiping off your controller. Um, and my hands are like dry. It's just it looks gross after a while. Um, and then now the other problem some people don't like about this controller, which to me is not a big deal. Some people have complained about the D-pad moving around like this. I've never noticed this while playing, but some people this has bothered a lot of people. But if you compare it to the Elite Series 2, I mean, it does it just as much. And you can argue, well, that's because it comes off, but it's still $179, $80. But, it's membrane. It's not like a clicky switch, but they still feel great. I think they still feel wonderful. These buttons were advertised originally as mechanical and clicky, and they are definitely not. These are membrane buttons. Um, and Gulikit today on Twitter, February 5th, finally, apologized for that miscommunication on what these buttons are. Their excuse was, well, the first batch of KK3s had a spring in the mechanism, and the new ones don't. They're just rubber membrane. My phone, I'm using my phone and it keeps refocusing. I apologize. So these are membrane buttons. They feel great, but they're membrane. I don't have a problem with that. They feel about the same as the Elite Series 2. Um, but be aware that they are membrane. They say the actual switches themselves can be replaced, so maybe they'll come out with a clicky one at some point. The This other controllers, one of its huge feature updates is wired and wireless stock. It has 1,000 hertz polling, which is huge for cutting down your input lag, latency. A lot of people like the PS5 controllers because they can overclock them to 1,000 hertz. This one already does it out of the box, and you're ready to go. You can they're hard to get off. The analog cover sticks do come off as well. If you want to buy the kit to make these taller ones, though they are pretty much these are the same size as these. Hold on, let me get these cheapo rubber ones off. I like the domed. They are pretty much the same size, so any control freaks that fit on the Elite series should fit on um, the KK3 Max. The Hold on, let's see if I can actually get it back on there. There we go. It's pressure. Now, the one thing I somehow has forgotten to mention till now is this controller uses Hall effect analog sticks, which means no stick drift ever, in theory. I mean, there is a repositioning spring in there, which could fail on you, and then you'd start getting some drift, but that should honestly never happen in your lifetime. The chances of that happening are extremely low. The Elite Series 2, it's I think there's a lot of people that have returned many an Elite Series 2 over stick drift. That should not be a problem ever with the KK3 or the Vader 3 Pro. Now, these two controllers right now are the exact same price. $79.99. The Elite Series 2 we know is $179, and we know about all its features. So what are you getting with the Vader 3 Pro that is different from the KK3 Pro? And just a disclaimer, I never considered buying the Vader 3 Pro until I bought the KK3. Just because there was some things that I found a little disappointing about the KK3, such as the back paddle arrangement, which was the biggest deal for me, and the longer pull while the clicky triggers are engaged. So for $79, you get real clicky switches. That's that's as much as it moves. You get clicky face buttons. These are all real mechanical face buttons. You get two extra buttons here, C and Z, but these two are membrane. It's a little weird, but they feel nice and tactile. They're great. You still get your Hall effect joysticks, and you get your D-pad. And these are all mechanical as well. Very clicky. It is raised a lot higher than I'd like. That's kind of weird, but it feels fantastic to use. This is real RGB. You can't make it whatever you want. You can make it static, pretty much whatever color you want. I like the feedback, so it turns on whenever I hit it. I think that's pretty cool. You can have it have like a rainbow effect if you want. That's what it's set to when you first open the box. And this one is good for Switch, PC. Um, I believe it has Bluetooth, so you can Bluetooth the your Android devices as well. Just as this one, it just doesn't have the nice button ease that the KK3 has. But it can pretty much be used on everything as well. And you can get an adapter. You can correct me in the comments if you'd like to use it on Xbox. The buttons already come in a Xbox format. I'm not the biggest fan of the gray on gray. I think the gray on black looks a lot classier. This coating as well. It's nice that you don't see fingerprints like you do on the KK3, which looks like disgusting after the first time you use it. You will not have that problem with the Vader 3, but it does feel more like a toy in your hands, to be honest. It does kind of look more like Toys R Us. I got this in a Happy Meal. That being said, though, I do really like the black on silver on blue. Those are my colors. Um, so I do really like that. The back paddle, or should I say button situation, I think is more suited for someone like me that only uses their middle fingers on the back. Your middle finger just kind of rests in the middle here, and then you just kind of reach over when you want to hit those innermost buttons. I use crouch and jump on the outer buttons or on the bottom buttons on the KK3 and the Elite Series 2. Sorry for hitting my camera. And then I use, reload and switch weapons here. I haven't found a function for the C and Z um, buttons yet, but I think they could be pretty cool for muting your mic or something like that in game. Uh, so with that, let me talk about the bumpers and triggers a little bit too. You get a really nice texture as soon as I autofocus on the buttons here, very grippy, and you also have it on the bumpers as well. Please autofocus. Anyway, I can do this and you can hear it. You can scratch on it. It's great textured. These come off as well. I don't think Flydigi sells longer analog sticks though, but it's kind of cool to take them off. That so like if you're gonna put some control freaks or whatever on there, you don't need to push down on it, because some people think that will increase stick drift, but again, that shouldn't be as much of an issue with these two because you have those Hall effect joysticks. One other difference between these is the Flydigi can come with software, which I like. So you can put everything, do all the software, save it on the controller, be done. The KK3 Max, no software. You have to do everything on the controller. To you, that may be a pro or a con. You don't have to install anything on your computer. Just do it all here, sign your back buttons all here, and be done. Um, the Flydigi, you can also do that, but I just like to do it on my computer, save it to the controller, and then be done that way too. It's just a lot more straightforward to me. You can see here that you can also buy a dock for this as well. I don't think I'm going to. Um, I just don't really see the point. The polling rate, though, one way these both beat out the Elite Series 2, as mentioned, is I already talked about the 1K polling with the KK3 Max, which is very impressive. The Flydigi comes in at 500 hertz, wired and wireless, still beating out the Elite Series 2, which only uses Bluetooth. These two can both use 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi connections. Sorry, I stutter sometimes. Um, this for wireless, Bluetooth is your only option. So when I'm using the Elite Series, and I think we all know how ridiculously slow Bluetooth is. So when I'm using the Elite Series 2, I'm using it wired 100% of the time. These two, I use wireless. It's a great time. It's awesome. So with that, I think we should now get into testing these controllers on Gamepad Tester. So let's do that. All right, and there's my OBS because I did not plan ahead. So now we have the Flydigi. When you plug it into your computer, it's going to come in as X input. The left trigger is a little, it doesn't reset to a perfect 0, 0 function. The right doesn't either, but this is not noticeable in game at all. I still have 0 stick drift on the Flydigi. Now, as I have all the back buttons assigned, as you can see here, everything works. So this is the trigger when it's on the a digital clicky function. If I flip the switch down, I am now in the analog function for racing games, GTA. One thing I forgot to mention, the switch is very easy to activate. You don't have to, it's a lot easier to activate than on here. I can be on the Flydigi, I can be using the trigger, move my finger down, and intentionally flip it back, flip it down, and then I'll be in analog, and then use my other finger, flip it back up, and I'm back in digital. It's actually really cool. The other ones, you really can't do that. But there's no way of you doing that accidentally either. So now we are going to test the accuracy of the Hall effect sticks on the Flydigi here, and we get about 8% on both. Actually, no, about 7 on the Elite Series 2. But you will not get any stick drift on these, so that should really never change. I'm going to now plug in the Elite Series 2. All right, so now we have the Elite Series 2. It does better going back to a resting position. I do have the tension turned up all the way on the Elite Series as well, though. So that may play it into it a little bit. So when we're doing, whoops, there we go. It acts as a mouse sometimes, and it's annoying. It makes the whole page move. But so the accuracy is, sorry that it's moving up and down, is about 10% over there. And it's about 10%. So it's not, so for a Elite Series 2, that's actually really good. This is my third Elite Series 2, however. And I returned them for stick drift. I got, that 1-year extended warranty from Best Buy. You bring it in, say, as stick drift, I want another one. Those ones had numbers up to 15. So for an Elite Series 2, this is actually pretty impressive. But again, the HE sticks are still more accurate. Good. See, now when I have the Elite Series 2 controller, that's the only controller I have the issue where, I'm doing, the test and it's treating it almost like a mouse. I don't have that problem with the KK3 Max or the Vader 3. So if you turn on, so as you see here, it has pretty fantastic resting values. When you grab the stick and let it go. When you test the circularity test, I still didn't say that right. You pretty much get a perfect value. See that? Now, I heard some people say that it's not, it's not really perfect. There's some type of magic going on there, but to me, I think this is pretty amazing. And it's HE Hall effect sticks, so you'll most likely never get stick drift. Jeez, so It's really impressive, um, that you can get this result. All right, so here is the software the Vader Pro 3 comes with, called Flydigi Space Station. There's a phone app you can get as well, but I personally have no interest in putting a uh, app for a controller on my phone. So here you can assign all your back buttons right here as well, easy peasy. You can pick your dead zone for each individual analog stick as well, and pick between default, delay, or make your own custom curve. I like to keep it on default. I think it just keeps everything simpler that way. This is where you can control the gyro and all the motion sensing this controller can do. You can control your triggers as well here. This controller also has trigger vibration as well. When I'm playing an FPS game, I usually just have the vibrations all turned off. So I haven't really messed with this too much. And here you can mess with the RGB. So this is the what it usually stays on initially when you first plug it in. I like the feedback, and I like to have blue. You can adjust the brightness here, the timing, and all that good stuff. And you can have up to 4 um, profiles saved right on the controller. It's pretty cool. Hasla has this test option here, which is pretty cool, and it can tell you the polling rate that you have while using every option. This is a really cool program, and I did not expect this to be included in the software. If you have $80 and you want, um, and that's the most you have to buy a pro controller, I don't think you can really go wrong with either of these. For me, I think I'm going to be using the Vader 3 more due to its much shorter pull on the trigger, the clicky buttons here. The back button layout is just really comfortable for me to rest my middle finger there and just kind of move over. I think I'm going to be sticking with the yeah, Vader Pro. That's a tongue twister. Vader Pro 3. At least until, who knows, Elite Series 2, 3, I mean, may be coming out this year in 2024. So I think that will hold me off until then. The KK3, I think, looks much more adult, looks much more premium. Um, it doesn't have that toy look that the Vader 3 Pro kind of has. Um, it is a fingerprint magnet though, which that does bother me. The coating on the KK3, it just looks disgusting. I would equate it to pretty similar to the coating on the Pulsar X2H and X-Lite 3 mice. The esports editions, how those, they show every fingerprint imaginable. It's kind of the same deal with this as well, but it's I would say this is probably the better built controller out of the two. It just feels sturdier in the hand. It doesn't have any flex like that. This it's kind of you can't get this one. This one may creak a little bit if you're really trying on it. This doesn't have any at all. Um, some people have a sour taste in their mouth that these were advertised as mechanical switches, and they are definitely not. But luckily, the company has reversed course and now admitting that that was a miscommunication. Um, the no software option for the KK3 may be a pro for you, a con. Uh, I like having the software, but it's not that big a deal if you're just going to assign the back buttons and then be completely done with it. So this has been oh yeah, and if you're looking for a computer, I mean not a computer controller, I would not buy an Elite Series 2 right now. These are both better. They're half the price. Um, I would either wait to a Elite Series 3 comes out, which is rumored to this year. But if you really need a new controller, I would buy one of these. You'll be saving a lot of money. You be getting better sticks, better triggers, really better face buttons. If you're into fighting games, I would probably pick this one because it's the nicer D-pad. This can be set to 4 or 8 way, which is kind of nice. So if you never want to get any diagonals, you can disable that. But that's up to you if that's important or not. The and I think that will pretty much sum it up for this video. Like and subscribe if you think I should do more tech reviews. This has been my very first one ever. Pretty rambly. Sorry for that. I didn't write a script or anything. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts. And I am Chronic Mayhem. Uh, Check all my links in the description. I go live on Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday, usually starting around 8 p.m. Eastern. So please check that out. If you have any other questions about these controllers, ask in the comments below or come to my next live stream. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you next time. Peace.